Welcome back. This week, 134 households were left hanging in the balance after local nonprofit NewCap announced it was closing its doors.
Multiple investigations are now underway at the state level over accusations that the organization mishandled funds. When asked about those allegations, U.S. Senator Baldwin said it's important to think about those impacted by this sudden decision and how to make sure no one slips through the cracks while officials look for answers.
These are vulnerable individuals and families, and I do not want to see them uprooted from homes because of the misfortune that we're experiencing here as a community. I want to see HUD redirect these funds.
Last month, Congressman Tony Weed and another lawmaker wrote a letter to HUD calling for an investigation into the allegations. Today, he issued a statement in response to Senator Baldwin. It reads in part, quote, NewCap's misuse of taxpayer dollars has left Northeast Wisconsin residents who depend on their services in a terrible position. This is what happens when we allow unchecked fraud to take hold in government programs. Before any tax dollars can be transferred, we need to ensure there is no widespread fraud, end quote.